Hey guys, it's Jonathan Rice here, a licensed CPA in the state of Louisiana. Today we're going to be talking about some of the different bill service providers out there that you guys may be considering to help run your small business. So for those of you kind of out of the loop and have never heard of a bill service provider, most people don't write checks every week at the end of the week or at the end of the month now to pay their bills. They're all loaded into a software system that is hooked up to your accounting platform or has an integration with your accounting platform typically. And that's how they pay their bills. It helps them see kind of the money they have outstanding in their accounts payable, what services have been provided, maybe what exchange rates are out there if they're paying some company that's international to where they're living and operating their business, things like that. So it really helps to streamline running a business if you have these platforms in place. Having these platforms in place is super important because similar to how a household runs, if the business fails to pay its bills, bad things happen. If you start missing your payments to your vendors, they may cancel your credit account. They may make it to where you have to pay cash up front before you can receive any raw goods or services. It's just a big headache. So we want to make sure that we're paying our bills. We want to make sure that we're taking advantage of discounts, that we're stretching out our terms as long as we can, things like that. That's just good business sense, and that's what these platforms help provide. So the first one we're going to talk about today is actually already on the screen. This is Intuit's payment and banking module that plugs directly to QuickBooks Online. It's pretty intuitive to use. It's super straightforward. QuickBooks has done a good job of integrating their bill platform within their accounting software. It's super simple. You can snap a pic and then upload it to QuickBooks via the app on your phone, or you can scan it in from your printer, send it over that way to your computer where you got your QuickBooks Online, and then QuickBooks will read the bill, tag it to an expense category, and then send it through. It typically does a good job. It uses OCR to figure out who the vendor is, what the amount is, the date, the payment terms, things like that. That will typically be listed on the invoice, and then from there, you would just double check everything, and then it's within your accounting software. And then at the end of the week, or bi-weekly, or at the end of the month, whenever you do your next check run, boom, everything is loaded. You just either click print or you ACH it out from your bank account direct to your vendors. There is no cost associated with ACHing it out, and then typically you'll pay about 50 to 60 cents per check, plus the stamp, plus the time to address each envelope, stuff like that. So I always recommend do electronic payment, as that is what the rest of these bill payment providers are going to encourage. So the next option on the list is Veem. Veem is a little unique in that Veem specializes in international money transfer. So if you are running a business in Europe or you're running a business here in the US and you have a ton of international vendors, like let's say I'm doing business with a Canadian company or a Mexican company and the Canadian dollar is fluctuating, Veem offers really competitive pricing to help mitigate those fluctuations so that you can kind of monitor your cash flow so that you know exactly what that bill is going to be 30 days from now based on historical trends. And it does that without any substantial fees. It is upfront with its pricing. It's usually based on the amount of transactions that you're running through the platform every month. It's not like Bill.com where there is a subscription-based billing. Veem is just very straightforward, and I've seen it used successfully on some clients and employers I've worked with that are running to the tune of $100 million a year in expenses. It really does just help streamline it that much. A couple other great things about Veem is it also typically integrates to your accounting ERP. So like if you're running Oracle or NetSuite, if you're running Sage, if you're running even QuickBooks, for instance, there's typically an API that will allow you to connect your accounting software directly to Veem so that there's no chance for mistakes whenever you're transferring funds to and from your business to your vendors. The final roundup that I want to call out on Veem is they have a pretty good dashboard. They have very good reporting, which is super beneficial because, as I previously mentioned, if those exchange rates fluctuate, it can be kind of difficult to forecast your cash flow. And so Veem does a good job of putting together those estimated expenses, what it thinks that the cost would be 30 days net out from the day of your invoice date, so you can better manage your working capital. All right, let's jump to the big player in the game. That's going to be Bill, formerly known as Bill.com. Now they're just known as Bill. The last time I used them, they were known as Bill.com, so they have rebranded since. Bill is best for large businesses, in my opinion. Bill does a really good job of capturing every single transaction that you run through your accounting software. I have never seen Bill make a mistake in years that I've used it. So when I worked for a healthcare company, we used Bill, and Bill.com, we were probably sending over $100 million of expenses through, and I can't recall one time when reconciling a bank account that I said, oh, there's a mismatch between Bill and our accounting software. It just does not miss. It does not happen. So if you really want to mitigate your oversight on spending time reconciling bank accounts or checking numbers, Bill is probably going to be your go-to. The other thing about Bill is it is really dialed in for user roles and permissions. So if you have an AP team of 3 or 4, maybe you have an AP manager and a controller, you can specify what roles and permissions you want for each employee, which is really good if you're trying to do separation of duties. You have a lot of money coming in and out, and it just holds everyone accountable because there's an audit trail for everything. Bill is meant for that scale. Bill is meant for that type of enterprise. Now, one thing I do want to talk about is the pricing on Bill. Because Bill is meant for larger companies, it typically comes with a slightly higher price tag. You can start out relatively cheap. Bill does offer subscription-based pricing, and that can be as low as $50 a month, $35 a month, depending on what you're running through it. Or in some of the cases that I've used Bill with some clients, it can be $700 to $1,000 a month if you are, sending that amount of volume. So that is something to consider when choosing Bill. It is good. It does work. It allows you to pay with different methods, but it's really best for mid to large enterprises, at least in my experience. Okay, let's talk about last but not least. That's going to be Melio. Melio is the new kid on the block, in my opinion. I've been running into it more and more. And it's kind of quickly risen to prominence. It's kind of like Square was whenever Square was first released, and that it's kind of taken everything by storm in this space. So the first thing about Melio that I have come to find and love is the dashboard is super user friendly. It's really accessible, and it has a very, very nice interface. Compared to some of the other dashboards I've used in the past, it's not nearly as clunky. It's pretty smooth and streamlined. You don't need to be an accountant to get around. You just need to understand the basic premise of what you're doing when you're paying your bill. And so Melio paints a very good picture for you to kind of track historical data and to kind of see where your trends are. And that's something I really appreciate because I'm constantly watching the dollars. And if I see a large flux on the dashboard, it's easy to say something probably wasn't entered right, or we just had a one-off bill come through. Melio makes that super easy to find. Other things regarding Melio is the payment flexibility. So Melio is free if you're sending ACHs to and from direct banks. There is a small cost associated with using credit cards or checks, but to be able to be turnkey and start and say, hey, we're not going to charge you anything to pay your bills is kind of unprecedented in a world where everything costs something. And so that's a feature I really like because I'm an accountant, I'm a penny pincher, and it's just not often that you can get good service for next to nothing. So those ACHs are going to be free. The credit cards are going to incur a typical transaction fee, usually around 2.9%. And then checks, typically there's like a printing and postage fee for checks. And that's common for all bill providers, so don't think that's unique just to Melio. But that does make it beneficial for companies who are looking to collect credit card points. They can use Melio to pay their bills with their credit card. So what does Melio cost? Melio is free, as I mentioned. This makes it really attractive for small businesses, micro businesses, people who may just be getting their feet wet and wondering, is running a business for me? Melio can be part of the answer that says yes. We're not going to charge you anything as long as you kind of play by our rules and guidelines. if you stick to those basic ACHs, will play ball with you. And so I really like that there's no risk involved whenever signing up. You can just get started, boom, away you go. Connect your bank account, pay your bills, get going. Integration capabilities, so Melio, like most of the other platform providers, is going to connect directly to Xero or QuickBooks or Sage or whatever you're running. Typically, there's going to be a third party, and so that's going to mitigate mistakes. It's going to save administrative burden. You're not going to need to have your bookkeeper rooting around trying to find, what's this bill paid. You just go in your accounting software, you go into Melio, they're both synced, boom, they're there. No big deal. So who are the ideal users of Melio? Melio is best for small businesses looking for something affordable, straightforward. It's also for businesses who are trying to optimize their cash flow by leveraging those credit cards I talked about. If you're trying to collect credit card points, if you're trying to get your net 30 on your invoice and then an additional net 30 on your credit card cycle, it's going to be really ideal for that. And then it's going to be ideal for folks who are already using cloud-based accounting platforms that can sync to it. So there's no extra headache of trying to keep up with it, this system and this system. They're just plug and play, which is really nice. So out of the four that I presented today, I really do enjoy the way Melio is working out. I'm very familiar with Bill and QuickBooks, but Melio is one that's kind of caught my eye. So we'll keep an eye on it and see how well it performs over the coming years.